Last time we spoke about how to find a rental property, how to put a deal together, how to go through the stuff. Kind of talked really fast, but we didn't really, break down how you run the numbers. So we wanted to come back into this video now and kind of talk about running the numbers. So like I said, I think the property had been listed at like $80,000, right? That was the list price on it. Again, we were in like a balanced market, so we were able to negotiate that price down to $72,000 when it was all said and done. And I believe we got 2% of closing costs in there. So it was like another, basically, net on that would have been like $1,400 off of that amount because investors, we learned a lot during that one about investment loans and, how you can only get 2% towards your closing cost assistance when you're doing that kind of thing. But it was listed here. So this was our list price and this was our purchase price of $72,000. And we got closing costs of $1,400 on that deal. Closed on it, wrapped it up. Oh, by the way, we had to put 20% down. So quick math on that would have been, for math for Marines here, so that would have been seven. So about $14,400 would have been times 0.2. That's your 20%. And then it was roughly about another $3,400 in so we'll put that, that's going to be 14,400. And then it was probably another $3,600 in closing cost. And then we come here, 7,8. So 18,000 minus our 1,400, that puts us at, I think, 1,600. Yep, that sounds about right. $1,600 or $16,600 right there. That was what we had to bring to closing at the end of it all. So that brought our mortgage payment. So it was what? It was $14,000 off. This I'm going to put into the calculator so that way we can do it a little quicker. So 72,000 minus 14,400, and that brought our mortgaged amount to $57,600. And what we did there, I think our payment was like something ridiculously low. It was like $400 a month. And we rented it out for $875. I think we mentioned that in the last video. This was our payment. I think it might have been slightly less than that actually, but let's just, easily say that it was $400. I think that's kind of how I always ran my numbers anyway. So, but we're going to go off this $875 number there because that is how we're going to figure out what we estimated it to cash flow at. And so 1% rule right off the bat. Hey, 1% of $72,000 would be $720. So we were $155 above that. So we felt very confident that it was going to cash flow. So that is something to be aware of. But now we would do $875. That was what the rent was at the time. And what we always estimated was 5 things, right? So we've got vacancies because the property is going to sit vacant. We always did 5% because that was about what the market in Brooksville would be. And then we have our capital expenditures. Think your roof, your septic system, which we ended up having to replace within like a year or so. Then you have, your flooring, your appliances, stuff like that. And then you've got your maintenance section. So your repairs and maintenance. So those are things that are going to break. Oh, you got to, get the HVAC system, not updated, but serviced once a year, and some other like small items that happen. And then you have your property management, and that is the 4th one that we put on there is property management. And we essentially assign 5% of the overall gross rents to allocate for those things. And property manager, because we were doing self management, so we only had to do 5%, and we didn't really pay ourselves that, but we just wanted to kind of have it in there. More than likely a property manager is going to charge you 10%. So you really kind of want to run the number at 25%. So how do we do that? We take the 875 number that we have right here and we multiply it by 0.25. That is 25% of the gross rent, right? So if we do that, we do times 0.25, 25% of that amount is 200. Yep, there we go. $218.75. All right, 875 times 0.25. All right, yep, so $218.75. And then we subtract that from the 875, And that means that you have leftover of $656.25. Then you got to take the payment amount. So that's what we were paying, monthly payment there, and subtract it from that amount. And we get $256.25 of cash flow. Woohoo! We're putting money in the bank. Well, what does that mean? Like, you're getting 256 bucks a month in cash flow. You're setting $218 a month, to an account that's going to have to like build up. So that way, when, stuff happens, you're able to make repairs, or, replace things. And so what does that 256 means? Well, we're going to be able to figure out what the amount of money that we invested into the deal, $1,606 or $16,600. We did have to put some flooring in there, which I forgot about, which was about $3,500 to get that done. So now we were like $20,100 all in on that investment. So we take that $20,000 number, and we're going to do a calculation with this 256 here. So you take the 256 0.25 and you divide it by the amount that you invested in the deal, 20,100. So we'll take the 256.25 divided by 20,100, and that comes out to 0.0127. So then you multiply that number by 100, and that's going to give you, well, I messed that up. But that was supposed to be a different number than that. Oh, that's what I messed up. I apologize. So it's 256 times 12. So 256.25 times 12. That's 3,075. 3,075. And then you divide it by 20,100. And that equals, divided by 20,100. And that makes way more sense, because it would be 0.152. And so here you multiply that by 100, and it comes out to 15%. So just over 15% return on your money. So then you times that by 100, and it comes out to 15.2. And that is the percentage that you're getting an annualized rate of return on your investment. And that is how we would run the deal to see if that is a return that we were okay with. I'm okay with 15% return because that doesn't even include the appreciation that we got in the property. It doesn't include the depreciation that we get in taxes. I am not a tax advisor, but it is something that real estate does offer that a lot of other asset classes don't. So it can help you with tax avoidance, if you will, not, getting away from for paying your taxes. But those are things that you have to consider when you are running your numbers. But 15% return on my investment was fantastic. When we ultimately did a refinance on the property, we got, I think $26,000 back in a cash out refinance. And so we got our original investment of $20,000 plus about $5,000 more in our pocket. And so we were able to deploy that capital into other deals. It was non-taxable, and because it was a loan. And then we ended up only having to go up on our payment by about another $100 a month. But by that time, our rent had increased by so much that it was like it offset one another, and it was fantastic. It was a great deal. Definitely a base hit that turned into what I would consider a home run because we got all of our money back out of it, and it's still cash flowing for us today. And we have roughly $80,000 of equity sitting in there, and we've been using it for depreciation on our taxes since we purchased it in 2019. So if this type of stuff interests you, then you're going to definitely want to reach out and schedule some type of consultation with us. We can do a Zoom, we can do it in person. We got an office right here in Brooksville, in Central Florida, or we can meet you where you're at. This is the kind of stuff that we love to do, want to help other people who are interested in investing in real estate kind of map some of this stuff out for them and their future.